Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all something today. You ever met somebody who run from love like it's a bill collector? I'm talking about the folks who dodge emotions like it's the flu. I ain't judging. We all got our stuff. But there's one thing that'll bring them avoidant folks to their knees real fast. And that's when they realize they pushed away the one person who actually gave a damn. Avoidants often fear emotional closeness, but crave connection deep down. This contradiction lives at the center of their emotional world, though they rarely speak on it. On the outside, they appear calm, independent, even indifferent. They don't chase, they don't beg, they keep things light, surface level, and distant. But inside, there's a whole different story. They feel deeply, often more than they'll ever admit. But the idea of someone truly seeing them, flaws, fears, and all, is terrifying. Vulnerability feels like a trap. They think if they let someone too close, they'll lose control, get hurt, or worse, be abandoned. So what do? They protect themselves by keeping people at arm's length. But the need for connection is human. It doesn't go away just because you're scared of it. It lingers. It follows them in quiet moments and late night thoughts, in the way they reread old messages but don't reply. Avoidants crave to be understood, but they've trained themselves to run from the very thing they long for. They'll deny their feelings, downplay their attachment, and pretend they're fine when they're breaking on the inside. It's not that they don't want love. It's that love feels unsafe. Intimacy threatens the walls they've built to survive. But those same walls also keep out the warmth, the comfort, the joy. So they live in this constant inner tension, pushing people away yet missing them the second they're gone. Regret often comes quickly, but pride and fear keep them from reaching back. And that's where the real struggle is. Caught between what they need and what they fear. And until they face that truth, the cycle repeats. They crave connection, but they run from closeness. It's a quiet war, and most times nobody even knows they're fighting it. Pushing away someone who genuinely cares often leads to instant regret. It doesn't always happen in some big dramatic moment. It can hit in the silence, in the stillness, when the dust settles, after an argument or after someone walks away for good. Avoidant individuals have a way of shutting down when emotions get too real. They pull back, create distance, and try to regain control by detaching. It's not always because they want to lose the relationship. It's because the intensity of emotional closeness feels overwhelming. But the moment that person who truly cared begins to walk away, when they stop calling, stop trying, stop showing up, that's when the regret hits. It's sudden and heavy, like waking up to realize you've let go of something priceless while trying to keep yourself safe. At first, avoidants may feel relieved when they create distance. They tell themselves they needed space, that it was the right move. But as time passes, the silence grows louder. They begin to notice what's missing, the comfort of being understood, the peace in knowing someone was there no matter what. They replay conversations in their heads. They think about the moments that now feel like missed opportunities. And for people who try so hard not to care, it's in that moment of absence when they realize they always did. They remember the support that person gave without being asked, the way they saw past their defenses, the patience they offered. It hits them that love like that doesn't come often. And suddenly, the very space they thought they needed feels like punishment. But by the time regret sets in, the damage is often done. That person who gave everything has started to heal, and the door may be closed. That's the moment regret comes in. Fast, sharp, and unforgettable. Their defense mechanisms can make them miss out on real love. Avoidant individuals are experts at self-protection. They've learned, often from early experiences, that closeness can lead to pain, so they armor themselves with detachment, independence, and emotional distance. On the surface, it looks like strength, like they're cool, in control, unfazed, but underneath, those defenses are really just fear in disguise. Fear of being hurt, fear of being vulnerable, fear of being truly seen and not being enough. So when someone comes into their life offering real love, something deep, patient, and genuine, they don't know how to receive it. Instead of leaning in, they pull back. Instead of opening up, they shut down. They convince themselves that they don't need anyone, that love is a distraction or a risk they can't afford. They minimize what they feel. They act like it's not that serious. They say things like, I'm just not ready, or I need space. And sometimes they even believe it. But often it's not about timing or readiness. It's about fear. Real love requires vulnerability. It asks for honesty, openness, and the willingness to be seen as you are, not as you pretend to be. And for someone who spent years protecting themselves from that kind of exposure, love can feel more threatening than comforting. So they sabotage it, not always on purpose, but through silence, distance, inconsistency, or even indifference. And they might not realize until it's too late that what they pushed away was real love that could have changed everything, love that was steady, safe, and sincere. But defense mechanisms don't recognize value, they only recognize danger. And when love looks too close, too honest, too real, those defenses go up like alarms. And while they're trying to stay safe, they don't notice what's slipping through their fingers. By the time they do, the moment and often the person is already gone. Regret is triggered when the person they distance themselves from moves on. At first, an avoidant person might feel relief after creating space. They may convince themselves that they've dodged discomfort, escaped emotional pressure, or preserved their independence. They fall back into their routine, back into solitude, thinking they're finally in control again. But that illusion begins to break the moment they realize the person they pushed away is no longer waiting. When they see that individual smiling again, thriving, or building something new with someone else, it shakes them in a way they never expected. It's not just jealousy, it's the weight of realizing they've lost something real because of fear. They often believed that person would always be there. They relied on their patience, their understanding, their willingness to try again and again. They assumed there would be time to figure it out. But love doesn't wait forever. Eventually, the one who cared learns to choose themselves. And when they finally do, the avoidance feels that absence like a sudden drop. That's when regret hits. Not slowly, not over time, but like a wave crashing all at once. They start to remember the little things, the way that person showed up for them, the way they offered love, even in the face of distance, the way they tried to break through the wall without ever forcing their way in. And now all of that is gone. Someone else may be getting the version of that person who once gave their heart fully, and that truth, it stings. Because deep down, the avoidant knew they were loved, they just didn't know how to accept it. And now that love has a new home, and they are left with the memory of something they couldn't hold on to. That's when avoidance turns to aching and silence turns into sorrow. Avoidants struggle with vulnerability, but loneliness hits hard. They spend so much time trying to avoid emotional exposure that they don't always see what it's costing them. Vulnerability feels unsafe, like stepping into unknown territory with no guarantee of protection. To an avoidant person, being emotionally open can feel like handing someone a weapon and hoping they won't use it. So they stay guarded. They don't share too much. They keep conversations light. They retreat when things get serious. They tell themselves they're just being careful, but in reality, they're keeping people out. Not just the pain, but also the joy, the connection, the intimacy. They're good at convincing others and themselves that they don't need anyone. They appear independent, self-sufficient, even cold. But when the day ends, when the messages stop coming, when there's no one checking in, loneliness starts to creep in like a shadow. And it doesn't ask permission. It shows up during quiet dinners alone, during nights when the bed feels too big, during those moments when they have something exciting or devastating to share, but no one they trust enough to say it to. That's when the cost of avoiding vulnerability becomes clear. They want connection like everyone else. They want someone to stay to understand them without judgment. But they're afraid that if they show too much, they'll be rejected. So they choose control over closeness. The problem is, control keeps you safe, but it also keeps you alone. They miss out on the very thing they claim they don't need. And the loneliness, it doesn't go away. It lingers, it builds. It becomes this quiet ache in their chest that no one sees. Vulnerability might feel risky, but over time, isolation becomes the real danger. And when they finally realize that they often don't know how to reach out, even though it's all they want to do. Real growth begins when they face their fear of intimacy. For avoidant individuals, this fear isn't just about relationships. It's about identity, about survival. It's rooted in early experiences where closeness may have felt unsafe, unreliable, or suffocating. Over time, they learn to equate independence with security and emotional distance with strength. But there comes a moment when these defenses stop protecting and start imprisoning. That's when growth demands something deeper. It doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for honesty. It asks them to sit with the discomfort of being seen and to slowly, painfully let someone in. Facing the fear of intimacy means learning to tolerate the vulnerability they've spent a lifetime avoiding. It's not about diving headfirst into emotional exposure. It's about taking small, brave steps, saying how they feel, admitting when they're scared, letting someone stay even when everything in them wants to push away. And it's hard, it's terrifying, but it's necessary because intimacy isn't just about romance. It's about being known. It's about being fully present with another human being and allowing yourself to be accepted as you are, not as the version you perform. The fear doesn't vanish overnight, but growth begins the moment they acknowledge it. The moment they stop pretending they don't care. The moment they recognize that avoiding closeness has cost them more than they were willing to lose. That's when healing can begin. That's when the patterns start to shift. It takes patience. It takes the right kind of people, safe people who don't demand too much too fast. But most importantly, it takes a choice to stop running and to start showing up. Because the life they want, the love they crave, is waiting on the other side of the wall they built. And real growth, that starts when they decide they're done hiding from it